Hello and welcome to the first proper episode of Just an Average Metalhead. I am your host Matt. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about my musical journey. From the humble beginnings to where I've got to now and how the person that, the fan I am now nearly didn't happen. The first time I became fully aware of what metal and rock music was around 1999. I would be about 6, 7 years old. Me and my dad had formed a really good bond with each other through the WWF. Peak Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind. And I remember we'd been watching the highlights of Raw one afternoon, and he fancied putting some music on, and he got his vinyl collection out, and he put on Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden, and I'd never heard anything like it at all. At that point, the only real music I'd heard was the radio pop music, which granted at that age I was into. I still dig the Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. Jesus, went a little bit further down the line. I was the perfect age for McFly and Busted. I'm still a fan to this day. But it was really through my grandparents. Like Elvis, Johnny Cash, Buddy Holly, The Shadows, a lot of the 1950s rock and roll stuff. And my nana on my dad's side absolutely loved Queen and Status Quo. But the sound, the opening of the Iron Maiden album really just sort of oh, I like this. And yeah, it really piqued my interest, and from that then, every time my dad put music on, I was like, ooh, I wonder what it's going to be today, kind of thing, which led me to hearing Ozzy for the first time, Metallica, Motley Crue, AC/DC, Wasp, the Sex Pistols, The Clash, loads of ska and stuff like Bad Manners, and everything was interesting at that point because you soak it in at that age. And yeah, I was like, I think this, even at that age, you can start to get an idea of yeah, that's for me, you know. But it wasn't until about the year 2000 I went to I don't know if me showing all 30 years of my age, I don't know if school discos still happen, but we had a school disco at Christmas time, and I remember hearing In the End by Linkin Park and Rollin' by Limp Bizkit for the first time. I'm like, oh, this is new. I like this. And yeah, it's just this definitely could be for me, you know. And that's where the journey of self-discovery starts, Like I said in my intro video, Hybrid Theory was a big album for me, for just piquing my interest, wow, this could be for me. And, through that time, I remember Nickelback getting really big on the radio and going, ooh, yeah. But also, through getting Hybrid Theory and I think it was Results May Vary. No, it won't be Results May Vary. It would be Hot Dog, yeah, by Limp Bizkit. Looking through, I'm that kind of fan. If I get a CD, I'll look through the booklet, read it cover to cover for fucking ages, and just analyze everything, see if where I can go, you know. And through reading like the booklet and stuff in Hot Dog, you see them talking about Korn and Deftones and things like that, and I'll go right. I need to check these bands out and see where I go from there. Yeah, and I remember also around that time, Bruce Dickinson got back with Iron Maiden, and it was this big thing. So my dad had some Iron Maiden CDs at that point, and me and my little brother had got a CD player to share. And I remember him lending me an Iron Maiden greatest hits called Edward the Great. And I don't even think I ever gave him that CD back. I'm pretty sure I wore that CD out because I overplayed it. And that's where my big love of like Iron Maiden and that era of like metal started, because like my wasp beanie. Yeah, and I really doubled down on like the more classic side of like rock and metal. See what other stuff I could discover down that rabbit hole. And I remember then, like, yeah, discovering Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, and but like through me discovering Sabbath, like going down rabbit holes, and like I remember hearing my dad telling me about this band not called Nirvana, and so I remember buying my first copy of Nevermind. I got it from a car boot sale. It was scratched to hell, but I didn't care. I just needed to absorb everything I possibly could. And obviously, 2006 is where things really kicked into gear. 2006 was the year the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance came out. And holy hell was I the right age for it. Yeah. I got addicted to that album, to the fact that a friend, I couldn't afford to buy it by myself at that point, but my friend lent me it. It took me 2 years to give her it back. Yeah, it was, that album still has a real deep place in my heart. Same as, yeah, American Idiot as well, around that same sort of time, I think it was. I don't know, I'm old now. Yeah, and that led me on to discovering like the Used and Fall Out Boy, and yeah, and that was where I also, through the little bit of pocket money I'd get every week, I used to religiously buy Kerrang every week, just to see what was going on. And I discovered so many bands that I'm still so passionate about today through Kerrang. Like, if it wasn't through Kerrang, I'd have never listened to Pantera. I'd probably never listen to like Sepultura. Never would have discovered Sepultura if it wasn't for Kerrang. And it also like helped me go back and discover old bands. Like, I never really would have dipped into Motorhead if it wasn't for Kerrang. But in 2007, like late 2007, I remember like every so often you'd get a free CD or something with Kerrang, and we got a CD that sort of back end, and that's where it opened my eyes to the heavier side of things. Track 1 was a preview of Scream Aim Fire, a track called Eye of the Storm by Bullet for My Valentine, and I think it was track 2 was Halo by Machine Head from The Blackening. And that 1-2 punch of those two songs together just really, really, really opened my eyes. And The Blackening is, for me, it is my generation's Master of Puppets. It's perfect. Absolutely, from start to finish, perfect. But I've never heard anything like it. Like, just the pure, like, rage of it. It was so good. Oh, it was so damn good. And also at the same sort of time as this is happening, through my love of like Maiden and Metallica, I met my best friend. And he still is my best friend to this day. How's it going, Matt? He introduced me to a lot of music once he discovered I'd like the sort of like heavier side of things. So he introduced me to Opeth, Children of Bodom. I still have those CDs that he gave me to this day, Matt. Thanks a lot. But he also introduced me to Tool, because 10,000 Days hadn't been out that long at that point. And yeah, I will never forget him introducing me to Tool, because that band is so damn good. Well, that's just an understatement. So damn good is just, words cannot put into describe how amazing Tool are. Getting to see them live last year with him was just the best thing ever. I don't think anything's going to top that, ever. But he still introduces me to new music that I've never like listened to today. Like, I would never have listened to Amon Amarth if it wasn't for him. I never would have listened to King Giz if it wasn't for Matt. So yeah, he's a good friend. Soon to be my best man. Here's where the story takes a turn, and this is what I mean. There's where I quite easily could have stopped. We got the internet in about 2009, and me being the fan that I am, I wanted to use it to like find more stuff, and the more on the like the first internet community I became a part of was like an Iron Maiden forum. The amount of hate that I got on that forum was unbelievable, and the amount, just every online community with metal and stuff that I came across at that time, I was getting so much hate because my taste was so expansive. Like, in my head at the time, I didn't see any problem with me being a huge Blink-182 fan and a big Metallica fan. There was no problem with me liking Sum 41 and Guns N' Roses. There's no problem with me liking Green Day and, Maiden or Wasp or Black Sabbath, It was all part of the same thing. And at the time as well, I was only young, didn't have the money to go to gigs all the time. And I honestly, it made me feel like I wasn't enough of a fan, And, like, when I'd say how much I liked things online, oh, what are you listening to that pussy shit for? But for me, the through line was there. And I really started to become disillusioned with, like, because I was constantly discovering new things. Like, I discovered Enter Shikari and stuff at that point, and yeah, I get very disillusioned with just the metal community at large. Like, yeah, I do have that like pop sensibility, and that was just. I tried towing the line that like their way, but it just made me miserable. So I thought maybe it isn't for me. That's all changed in 2011 through a friend that I went to college with. Like I'd still listen to like this kind of music, but I wasn't screaming it from the rooftops. You know, I'd wear like band tees and stuff, and yeah, I just I just didn't I didn't feel like I fit in everywhere. Like I felt like I wasn't like metal enough for the metal crowd, but I was too like weird and stuff for the normal crowd. So yeah, like that's what I said. A friend of mine introduced me to the Metal Hammer podcast in like late 2010, early 2011, and that changed my life. The two presenters, Gil and Bees, they blew my mind. They showed me that the elitists were like the metal elitists online were not the community that it was. The actual metal community is like a family, you know, and you nobody cares what you like. As long as you're down and you treat each other well, who cares, you know? And without that podcast, I never would have discovered like Cancer Bats, Skin Dread, or like one of my favourite bands of all time, Volbeat, you know? And it sent me into hyperdrive. Like my love for this music just went off. Like I never would have discovered one of my favorite albums of all time, Ironiclast by the Damned Things, like a super group of Every Time I Die, Fall Out Boy, and Anthrax. You know, that album is like it's gonna be my first retro review, a bit of a hidden gem. But yeah, I never would have discovered it, and that went down the line. Like that podcast got a few new hosts and stuff. I still listen to it all the time, but I still listen to it now, like the new revamped version with Mel. But but in 2015, That's Not Metal launched. It was Bees from the Metal Hammer podcast and a later host called Stephen Hill. They started a podcast together, and it pretty much made me the person I am now. I still listen to it now under Perrin, but God, that podcast made me who I am today. Like, it's okay to like what you like. If you, who cares if you like fucking Wu Tang Clan and Iron Maiden, as long as you're a good person. I mean, who cares? And like, without that podcast, I never would have discovered Ghost. Like, another band I still get grief for today. Gajira, never would have discovered Gajira, Behemoth, Clutch. I'd give before these two things, and without, quite frankly, without Bees himself, he is like one of the best minds in metal journalism, like today. I don't think I think I'd have given up on it, you know. But yeah, I am. I'm hoping my passion for this music and stuff will shine through in the videos to come, because it has been my life for pretty much 20 years at this point. Like I got into it at a really early age, and it's still my number one love over everything. I am listening to music pretty much 24 hours like, well, not 24 hours a day, but every hour that I'm awake, I'm listening to music. And it makes me so happy, and I'm getting to go to a few more gigs these days, and luckily enough, every gig that I've ever been to has been absolutely amazing. I'm yet to be disappointed. That's why I'm starting this project, because rock and metal makes me happy. And if I can make people make people discover it the way I discovered it, and if it can make them as happy as I am with it, then I've done the right thing. And that's why the second last part of this video, for any new people getting into metal, don't let any negativity put you off. You like what you like, you know? Don't let anybody force you into a corner or tell you that, oh, you can't like that because it's too mainstream or it doesn't sound like it was recorded in a biscuit tin. You know? Who cares? If you're getting into metal and you love Avenged Sevenfold or you love Ghost, that's perfectly fine, you know? Do what makes you happy. And who knows? You might get as crazy about it as I am, where you're constantly on the hunt for new things to listen to, and yeah. And I hope it makes you as happy as metal's made me. Hope you all have a good day. I've been Matt. That was my rambling journey of how I became the fan I am today. And yeah, keep the faith. Have a good day.